I wanted to talk about how, if we could go back to George Johnson for a moment, how was he involved in the city? Could you maybe give some more examples of his involvement with the city?
Well, clearly he respected the fact that the genesis of George Mason University was the city's contribution in 1959, 58, 59, and he participated or was involved in discussions with me. I would say with President Johnson, it was more a question of direct involvement between President Johnson and myself. We hadn't progressed as fully to the sort of idea of institutionalizing the relationships at the three levels that I described. That grew over time, partly during his watch. One of the things that became a vehicle, if I can use that term, for the collaboration was Spotlight on the Arts. I was using that as a way to particularly get specific involvement.
And can you talk about Spotlight on the Arts?
Well, sure. I'm delighted to talk about Spotlight on the Arts. It's one of my favorite activities. By way of background, this goes back before I was an elected official into the sort of early 80s when I was chairman. I mentioned earlier I was chairman of the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. And at the end of my stint as chairman of that advisory committee, I gave a little report to the city council, and I said, you know, our parks are pretty good, and we have good recreation programs. You know, if there's something maybe that the city ought to be looking at over the next few years is, you know, where do we sort of go in the cultural arena? And you have to think about this, that in the early 80s, the Washington Post thought civilization ended in Arlington, and the buses turned around at Fairfax Circle. So arts activities, even those that existed, like the Fairfax Symphony and the City of Fairfax Band, didn't get any coverage. So the genesis of Spotlight on the Arts was a very simple mission statement that said, what we want to do is to put the spotlight on new and emerging cultural opportunities in our community, defined as the city, sort of the Fairfax, Greater Fairfax area and GMU, put the spotlight on emerging arts and cultural opportunities, and help new and emerging. Now, this is a very different festival concept than the typical arts festival where you bring in the opera singer from Italy or something who's world class, and you try to, you know, tell the folks in the local community what real art is. We took a deliberately opposite approach to try to, between the city and George Mason University and other nearby arts activities, to put the spotlight on them to help them grow. And that's been our mission for the last 20 years or so. Now, in the last 10 years or so, we added a third element to Spotlight on the Arts, which was providing scholarships for arts-related activities in the College of Visual and Performing Arts at George Mason University. And I think we've done something like over 60 scholarships over the last decade of one type or another. But I wrap up on the Spotlight point by saying is this was a bottoms-up type effort, collaboratively between us and George Mason University, and I give Joanne Johnson a lot of credit for helping us on that. When I went to her, knowing that she was herself interested in the arts, she fully agreed with the idea that this should be a collaborative effort, and not only would it be good for the arts, but it would be good for the relationship between the city and the university.
So you're pleased with this over the years? It's largely been successful, or? Yes,
I think it's been. We've kept it kind of still a community and college kind of event. Mm-hmm. Now, clearly, what's happened since we started. Remember, there was no Center for the Arts when we started. And the music department was very small, and there was no theater department. I don't think there was any theater department, if I remember correctly. Certainly not of the capacity that came along with Theater of the First Amendment. So what really has happened is that George Mason and the combination of the Center for the Performing Arts and the faculties in the College of Visual and Performing Arts have really become the sort of de facto cultural center, certainly of Fairfax County and city, if not Northern Virginia. Mm-hmm. And we're delighted to see that, because what it does is it puts within literally almost walking distance of people that are in the city, certainly a short 5-minute drive, some of the finest cultural opportunities that you can have at a much lower price than having to go to the Kennedy Center, and avoid that traffic, by the way, also. So we've grown together, I think it's fair to say, Spotlight and the university, and we're delighted at the growth in the university's arts arena.